sport fans watching around the world. This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Let's get straight into the episode.
Yeah, we heading for the sun. Shawty got my high, I ain't tripping for the funds. Yeah, I won't start, I ain't tripping, I'm a stun.
Alright y'all, today's a Monday. Monday's off for Docs. Thank you all for clicking or tapping and let's start today's spew. But before I do, to my guests, let me just say something to you that I say to everyone that comes on, but I would not be saying it if it wasn't true. You're sitting here because I find you interesting, and that's because you are an interesting person. I want to learn more about you, how you think and how you feel, and I love that I have the opportunity to be able to share this experience. So I really appreciate you coming over. Thank you for sitting down. And ladies and gentlemen listening, I'm very excited to be sitting down with another podcast host today. I stumbled upon his channel and I was amazed with not just the guests he gets on, they're very impressive, but also his orchestrative conversation skills, his uplifting messages, and I'm very honoured to be sitting down with the host of the podcast channel, The Betar Project. Ladies and gentlemen, you read the title of the intro, you know who it is. This is Nick Betar.
My man, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on the other side of the microphone. I'm usually the one doing the interview, so when someone asks me, hey, come jump on my podcast, I'm like, bloody oath, let's go.
Yeah,
so, dude, grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you. So you've done it before? You've been a guest on a podcast before?
Yes, I have a few times now.
Okay,
and
cool.
it's something I actually really enjoy. As I said, it's a breath of fresh air when you're just always sitting there interviewing someone. So to be on the other side of the mic, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, cool. I kind of know what it feels like. I've never been on anyone else's podcast, but every 10 episodes, I let one of the boys come over and they try host it for the day, and it's like, I've got no notes. I'm just like, yeah, bro.
Just freestyle it?
Yeah, bro. The conversation like dies and I'm just sitting in it like, this is your thing, bro. You fucking pull it together. So yeah, I wouldn't mind jumping on podcasts as guests one day, but I love hosting,
It's
I
fun,
love it. Yeah.
And I've got to say, like, dude, this setup is incredible.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
I know what it's like to start at the bottom and then slowly work your way up. You're like, oh, I want to get new equipment and do new rooms and stuff like that. So the time, the energy, the money that you invest into a space like this, bro, I think it's very underestimated. Like, people don't see that. They just see the conversations. And for me, being a podcaster and going through what you're going through now, and I have huge respect, bro. And
Thank you, bro.
you're playing the long game by the looks of it, and you're putting the time and the money and the energy into it, and it's going to pay off. You just got to keep chipping away, bro.
Fuck yeah, thanks, bro. Well, dude, as I said in the intro, I'm excited because I see your channel and I'm like, fuck yeah, that's where I want to get to next, bro. Like the setup you got going on, looks like you got a studio for it.
Yeah, so I converted half my garage into the studio.
Yeah, mad.
That was at the beginning of last year I did that. So it's been a journey. I mentioned to you before, a year and a half ago, I was in a spare bedroom in my parents' house, like half the size of this room. Wouldn't even be able to fit a couch in. I just had like 2 shitty Kmart chairs, microphone, run through my computer as well. And I thought that was sweet. And then I moved into my own house. And I was like, ooh, I've got this space here. Imagine if I could turn that into a studio, and I chucked so much money into it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with how it turned out. And ever since I invested in myself, in the brand, in the podcast, it's gone to whole new levels.
Yeah.
So a big piece of advice is you got to invest.
Yeah, I know.
I know it's hard in the beginning because you don't make money from podcasting, right? Yeah. People think, oh, I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to make heaps of money, I'm going to be rich, famous, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, it takes years and years of work. This is my 5th year of podcasting.
Wow.
And it's taken me up until last year. So 4 years of nothing to now starting to gain a bit of traction. And I'm like, oh, this year may be a really good year for the podcast. So you just got to keep putting in the work and playing the long game and just investing your time and energy into it, because it will pay off especially if it's something that you're passionate about. I'm assuming for you're passionate, you love having these conversations, you love connecting with people. And one of my biggest values is connection. So for me to sit here and connect with you, connect with my guests, I love it, man. The big thing I love about podcasting as well is it's a massive personal development journey.
Oh, bro, speak it to me, bro.
You can listen to podcasts, you can read books, but for you to be in the room and to connect with people and to learn from them firsthand, it doesn't beat anything else.
Nah, it's the best.
The more you do it, the bigger your network gets. So then you'll be able to tap into bigger minds, knowledge, everything like that, and that just improves you. And then you can provide more value for people too. So it's just a a never-ending cycle of personal development, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, bro. I'd say it on the podcast all the time. Once a week, I get deep conversation, I get therapy, I get motivation, I get education. Like, it's like how many hobbies and interests in the world can possibly provide that? You know what I mean? There's not many at all. I think it was the greatest thing I ever did, start doing the podcast. So I appreciate everything you say about the progression and everything about that, because I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to.
How many episodes you done now?
Also released at the moment, there's 70.
That's good, bro.
By the time this comes out, it'll probably be about 80, maybe 80. Yeah.
You're in the top percentile. Do you know like any of the stats around that?
No,
Like,
I'm not.
So 80% of podcasters don't even make it past, I think it's like 5 or 10 episodes.
Wow.
And then out of that remaining, so 20%, 80% of that don't get past like 20 odd. So
Wow.
for you to be at 80, I'm at nearly 300 now. Yeah, that's the top percentile, and not many people get that far. So, dude, once again, you should be proud of how far you've gotten, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication to get this far.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck, you popped me up, bro, already. It's been 10 minutes. I'm good, bro. That's the end. That's a wrap. That's it. All right. So you did mention that you've been doing it for 5 years. So I'll rewind a little bit. But first, I can't steer away from the first question I do like to ask everyone, and that's, how do you feel in this exact moment right now?
I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for, one, the opportunity to be here, but I'm grateful for where I'm at in this journey of life, for the opportunities that are coming my way, the ups, the downs. I'm just embracing it all right now, and just understanding that we have different seasons within our life. And once you accept that and you embrace it, like, you may be going through a shit season right now, that's okay. Like, we all go through that. But if you keep chipping away, you keep putting in the work, and you focus on what you can control, your health, your fitness, your mindset. Like, are you reading books? Are you listening to podcasts like this? Are you improving? I speak about it, your mental fitness, your mind, your body, your spirit. If you focus on those core 3 areas of your life, man, you're going to get through that season, and you're going to move on to a better season. But then also understanding, once you move on to a next season, there's going to be more challenges that come your way. So it's just accepting that this is what life is. It's not fair. It's going to suck. There's going to be highs and lows. Once you accept that, it's just, it is what it is, bro. You just go with the flow of things, and you just do your thing, and you focus on the things that you can control, and life will be good.
Yeah, bro. Gratefulness is such a good introspective feeling to have. Like, gratefulness is probably my most common feeling, to be honest, above all. I'm grateful for every day. There's a lot of questions kind of pop up in some segments I do, like what's like deep question kind of segments. And one of them is like, what are you grateful for? And it's a common answer, but everyone kind of agrees, just being alive in general. You know what I mean? Like, just having the gift of waking up that morning and experiencing that day. I'm so grateful for every opportunity I get. I really appreciate that you say you're grateful to be here, because I'm also grateful that you are here. And to rewind a little bit, you did mention that 5 years ago is when you started up in that bedroom. I was very similar. Say I started 70 episodes ago in my own bedroom. I asked my parents at the time, you don't mind if I just get rid of my bedroom, eh? And they're like, what do you mean? Where are you going to sleep? I was like, the couch, the spare bed. We got a spare bed, but usually it's got people in it. And they're like, dude, do whatever you want to do.
So
I
converted your whole bedroom. You just slept on a couch.
Straight to the freaking tip, bro, that day. I was like, that's it, straight to the tip. Went and bought one of those tables, couple shitty chairs, couple of cameras, and did my trial and errors and all that shit in the beginning. But
I respect that,
yeah. So I haven't had a bed I still don't even have a bed in that room.
You don't need a bed. Look at these couches, bro.
Well, I sleep on that couch every now and then. I stay at my partner's house most of the time now, but that's only a new relationship. But for a long time, it's been find somewhere to sleep, bro. You know what I mean? But I love it, bro. I love it.
That fires me up, because I respect the hustle, man. As I said, podcasting is a hard game. Business, life's a hard game, and you got to make sacrifices sometimes to get to where you want to get to. And even if that's a bed, so you sleep on a couch and you have this space, it's like, I love that, bro. And I respect anyone that does that.
Yeah, I'm not even a picky person either. Like, honestly, I'll sleep on the ground. I don't even care. I'm pretty good.
Bro, I'm pretty smooth. Bed, bro.
Who cares? Who cares? I live away a lot for work too, so I might be away for a few months at a time here and there. So it's like, it is what it is. So I want to go back to that 5 year ago period. When did you first have the idea of getting into podcasting, and when did you actually make that decision to start doing it?
I've been thinking a lot about this lately on the journey and where I was 5 years ago. And then I was reading a book, and it speaks about your self story and the story that you tell yourself and who you are and what you believe. And going back 5 years ago, the story I told myself was, you're a shy, quiet, introverted kid who can't string a sentence together, who can't have conversations, who can't be in a room with new people. And I never left my comfort zone. I would stay in my comfort, do the things that I knew, didn't take any risks, anything like that. But I knew within myself that if I wanted to have an impact in this world, if I wanted to make change and create the life that I truly desire, I need to make change. I need to step out of my comfort zone, because that is where the growth is. And it is scary. It is scary stepping out, because that's where adversity comes. And if you haven't, I guess, had that childhood where you've been faced with adversity, and for me growing up, I love my mum, but she loved me a bit too much.
Yes.
I was a big mama's boy, and she protected me from a lot of things. So, like, yes, I'm grateful for that, but it didn't allow me to experience life, to experience the world. And I wouldn't say the evils, but the dark side of the world.
Yeah.
Where you have to grow. You have to face that adversity, those challenges that come your way. So for me, I didn't know any of that. But I knew that for me to go to this next level, I had to make a change. And I went to, you know who Gary Vee is?
Yeah.
So he came to Sydney in 2019.
Yeah.
At the time, I was at university and I hated uni. I was studying sports and exercise science because I went to my physio one day and he's like, oh, what do you want to do with your life? Why didn't you do sports and exercise science because you love sport? I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. So I signed up, hated it, didn't want to go to uni.
Yeah.
Not my thing. And now I believe you don't even need uni to get to where you want to get to in life anyway, unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. But I remember this Gary Vee guy popping up on my social media. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, especially 2019.
Yeah. I'm like, who is he? But he's spitting some truths and I love it.
Yeah.
Good old algorithm keeps shooting me Gary Vee. And then this ad pops up. Success Resources. Come see Gary Vee in Sydney. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm buying tickets to it. I don't know why, but I just bought a ticket. And I remember telling my parents, hey, I'm skipping uni this day because I'm going to go to this seminar. And they're like, what the fuck? Why are you doing that for?
He's joining a cult.
Yeah, he's joining the cult. They're just going to sell you programs and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, whatever. I had no expectations. I didn't know why I was even going anyway, but I was just drawn to the fact of maybe I can learn something, be in a new environment, be out of my comfort zone. And I remember going to this event and I remember sitting there in the crowd and there was all these other amazing speakers out there as well. Gary Vee comes on. The way that guy can captivate a crowd and the impact he can have, I'm looking around, I'm like, imagine if I could do something like this. Imagine if I could have this impact on someone else's life, whether that be on stage or something else. And at that time, I had no clue what even a podcast was, though I knew what vlogging was because I watched a lot of YouTube and I was like, maybe I'll buy a camera and start vlogging.
Mad.
So that's where the whole video thing came into play, where I bought my first camera and I remember buying it. It was like $1,000. I was like, holy shit.
Do you remember what camera it was?
It was the Canon M50.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember buying that from JB Hi-Fi. I'm like, sweet as, let's start vlogging. I pull it out. I'm like, oh shit. I'm all stuttering and stuff like that and thinking that it has to be perfect. But I just started putting out vlogs. I didn't know why, but I was just doing it. Putting out random things, just talking to the camera, documenting. It was so cringe, man. If you go back and watch it, I was like,
oh, so it's still up.
Yeah.
Respect
still
that,
up.
bro. Respect
Didn't delete
that.
anything, bro. All my first episodes of vlogs, podcasts, everything are still up there. And from time to time, I go back and listen and watch because I'm like, man, you've come a long way from that shy, quiet kid who couldn't even speak to a camera to now, being here today and having the conversations that I do with people. So that kind of started me on my journey. And then a couple of months down the track, Gary Vee pops up again and goes, everyone needs to have a podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? But I'm buying a microphone.
Yeah.
So I bought this shitty ass microphone from JB Hi-Fi and I plugged it into my old ass laptop and just started recording. Just speaking about random things once again. And I put it out there.
Was it still along the same vlog kind of dialogue?
Yeah, I'll just come up with
this is what I did today.
Yeah, just
kind of
random
thing?
topics of like One was about like, what are my thoughts on Christmas? Because it was around December that I started it.
Yeah.
So I just started talking about Christmas. I was like, what the fuck am I talking about? But I put it out there, and God love my mum. She was like my number one supporter.
Yeah,
I'd walk out of my bedroom and I'd hear her. She didn't have headphones. She was just playing it out loud. And I was like, fuck, mum. This is so cringe. I hated hearing my own voice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I love you, mum. Like, thank you so much.
But you're like, fuck yeah, one view already.
One view,
and you
that's
walk
it,
outside and your mum's got it on.
That's it.
Mad.
And then I started getting a couple of mates on. I was like, oh, you want to jump on, have a chat? And I really enjoyed it because some of my mates, like, you know, you can have mates and you speak to them, but when you jump into this kind of space and they start to open up, they start to speak about things that you've never knew about them before. I'm like, wow, like the connection you gain from opening up, from being vulnerable, is so much stronger than just banter and stuff like that. So for me, I was like, wow, this connection thing's really cool. And I just kept growing and growing and growing. It got to a point where I was just asking anyone and everyone. And at the time, I was following, do you know a guy called Isaac John?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so he's an ex-NRL player and he runs a brand called YKTR.
Oh, yeah, he has a podcast. I think I'm familiar with the guy.
He has a studio. He's run a bunch of podcasts, stuff like that. So I really followed him because obviously I grew up rugby league background. Got up to semi-professional. The dream was the NRL. So I followed a lot of players, and for him to stop playing footy, to go into business, podcasting, have his own clothing brand, I'm like, oh man, that would be cool. So I started following him, and I reached out because he's like, oh, I'm going to start jumping on a bunch of podcasts. I was like, ooh, I'm just going to randomly reach out. Like, what do I have to lose here? And he goes, yeah, man, I'll jump on. I was like, oh shit, I did not expect this at all. I remember sitting in front of a laptop, shitting bricks because I put him on a pedestal of like how high this guy is, you know, ex-NRL player, played for the Kiwis, all this kind of stuff. I remember him jumping on and he goes, bro, just relax. I'm like, oh fuck, it is really that noticeable that I'm like so nervous. That conversation is absolutely terrible. But I go back now and I look at it and I go, wow, the amount of confidence I grew from just having that conversation, because I was like, if I can sit down, if I can have a conversation with someone of that caliber, who else can I speak to? And from there, I just started messaging bigger names and gaining connections and building my network and, you know, building my reputation as well. Because if I can sit down and talk to this person, you know, they have a friend who is a bit higher up and like, oh, you know, you spoke to my friend, I'll jump on your podcast as well. And it just grew from there. So building my network, building my reputation to now get to nearly 300 episodes is been a journey within itself. And I mentioned before about it's been a massive personal development journey for myself. Going from the kid who couldn't even have a conversation to now I believe I'm pretty damn good at holding a conversation, asking the questions and being vulnerable and being opening up to people that I don't know where this podcast is going to go. I have no expectations of it, but I'm just enjoying the journey because that's what life is. You just got to go with the flow, and life is held on by a thread, right? You don't know when your time's up. So if you just go with it, just have the conversations, do what you enjoy, do what you're passionate about. It's all going to play out the way it's meant to play out, I believe anyway. So that's a bit of the backstory of how I got to where I am now. Yeah. And it's been a journey. Yeah, it's been a mad journey, dude. I want to kind of like go pin a couple points along that journey. So how old are you now? I am turning 27 in March. Okay, cool. So we're not too far apart. I turned 25. I've got another half a year or so to go until I'm 26. So we're kind of almost the same age. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you had that first podcast with the Isaac John? So that was 2020. So what would that put me? I'm bad with numbers. I don't even know what year it is. 24. So 20. What? So around 22. 22. Or so? Yeah, 21. Yeah, 22. Yeah, nice. So yeah, good hustle, bro. At 22. Yeah, that's powerful, bro. It definitely took a lot of confidence and things like that
So it's funny that you didn't feel like the type of person who was able to. So you decided to jump onto a scene like podcasting and shit where people are already comfortable enough to have conversations. Usually people work their way up before they're confident enough to do so. And one of the questions I was curious to ask you as well was, do you feel like anything that you were interested in before that led you to any experience that you have today inside of podcasting?
I wouldn't say interest. I would say what I believe is a lot of our passions come from pain points throughout our life. So I mentioned that pain point of not being able to communicate, not being able to talk to people. So I turned that into a passion by chucking myself in the deep end. And for me, I'm a big believer in actions speak louder than words, and you got to take action on things. So by jumping out of my comfort zone, by taking that action, there's this analogy of you're putting layers of paint on, and every layer of paint is confidence. And through having conversation, through doing each and every podcast, you're adding another layer of paint. And what that is just evidence of, hey, you can do this. And the more confidence you build, the more evidence you build, you sit with yourself and you go, I'm not that shy, introverted kid that I told myself I was. Yes, I may experience anxious thoughts from times. I may be shy in your environments from time to time. But that is not me. That is just a part of me that I experience. And once you shift that self-story of I'm not shy, I'm not introverted, I'm quiet, to, hey, no, I can actually sit down, I can hold a conversation because I have this backpack full of just evidence. I've got that wall over there where I've just put layers and layers of paint on of evidence, of confidence. That is when you realize, shit, you can shift your mindset. You can go from point A to point B just by putting in the repetitions. So I wouldn't say it was an interest thing. It was more so coming from a pain point of, I want to make a shift in my life. How do I do it? Okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to attack it. I'm just going to take action. And here I am today.
Yeah, mad. Yeah, that's awesome, bro. That's sick. Back in the day when you were doing it out of a spare bedroom, what was the feeling like when you'd have these guests come over that you'd reach out to and you're like, man, I hope this type of person wants to come on, and you had to bring them through that little walk through to the spare bedroom? How did you feel in those moments? How was those emotions?
Well, back then I thought it was pretty cool that I had my own setup, even though it wasn't a spare bedroom.
Yeah.
But as I kind of grew and I wouldn't say, I compared myself to other podcasters and I'm like, oh, they got studios. My setup's pretty shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that fired me up to save money, to work hard, to invest it into microphones and cameras and eventually my own space. It just fired me up, bro. I was like, yes, I'm here now, but understanding, once again, coming back to it's all a journey.
Yeah.
You got to start from somewhere. You got to start in that spare bedroom. You got to start from selling your bed to sleep on a couch to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
But if you don't start, you're never going to get there in the first place. So for me, it was just about starting and taking action. And I think coming back to your question of who cares about the space? It's about the conversation that's going to be held.
Yeah.
Because each conversation is a piece of the puzzle. If I cared so much about this space that, I'm not going to invite someone over because they're going to think it's a shit space, I would never be where I am today. But having that mindset of, okay, this isn't the best setup, but the more conversations I can have, the more growth that I can have down the track, because I'm playing the long game, it's going to allow me to eventually have a studio. But if you don't have that mindset, you're never going to get to that studio anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's just having that simple mindset of, this is where I am now, but if I keep working away, I can get to somewhere bigger.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar in that regard. I remember the initial feelings of like first reaching out to people like off TikTok. I did a couple. Shout out to the first guy I reached out to, Moe Duwari. He's a TikTok creator. And like that was my first time inviting someone on that I'd never met before. And it was just like, oh shit, like, I don't know, I've never met this person, you know what I mean? They're coming into the house. I hope he thinks it's an all right setup kind of thing. But then I realized pretty quickly into mindset, like I need to have the confidence in order for this to work out. I need to be able to prove not just to my guests but to myself that I'm proud of this. I've created this. I'm happy to get it started, and without that, I probably never would have been able to come over. And don't get me wrong, it did not work out. I didn't even press record on the cameras. I was fucking too nervous. We shot a whole episode 2 hours in, no camera recording. It was pretty funny, but thankfully he came over and did it again. So shout out to Moe Duwari. But then the same thing kind of happens every time I reach out to someone I don't know. I'm in a current position where I'm only just now starting to put more effort into reaching out to the people that I've never met before, like yourself. For this whole journey, I've been very grateful to be doing it with my mates. Very, very grateful. And to be honest, it's so much fun anyway,
Yeah.
I don't really think too much about the numbers and the subscribers and the views and the comments and the likes. To be honest, I try to avoid it because if I focus too much time on it, I don't know how my mindset's going to be. So I've just been putting in these practice hours in the beginning anyway. I've just enjoyed spending time with my mates, and I want to know what it was like for you in those early days with your mates. Was it did all of them want to do it? Was there only a select few that were happy to do it? Some of them just did it for a gift for you kind of feeling? Like, how was it when it was just you and the boys?
It made things a lot easier because I felt more comfortable because it is your mates. I enjoyed it, but still, because I was at the beginning of my journey, I was very anxious. I was very nervous. Those feelings didn't really go away until, maybe episode 50, 75, something like that. It's taken me a long time to really build that confidence where I can just reach out to someone who has 200K followers and be like, hey, come on the podcast. I've had this person on, and they're like, yeah, sweet, I'll come on. And don't get me wrong, I still get nervous. But the way I see it now, I used to have a really negative relationship with anxiety. I used to see it as a bad thing. I'm like, why is this coming up? Why is this in a way debilitating me? And I'll be honest, it got to a point in the early years where if I had to say do something like this, I would be so anxious and I would create all these narratives in my head of what could go wrong that I would make myself physically sick. Wow. Like I would be like vomiting and really fatigued, and in my head I'd be like just all over the place because I had a negative relationship with anxiety. Now I have a positive relationship with it. I now see anxiety as a sign of something that you need to head towards. It's a sign of, hey, you need to go have that conversation. You need to go take action on that business or podcast or whatever you want to do in your life. See anxiety as a sign of something that you need to go towards. Because once you, coming back to the comfort zone, once you jump out of your comfort zone, that's where the growth is. But also understanding that your comfort zone isn't a negative thing as well. What I come to understand is, yes, you want to leave it. You want to go face adversity, challenge yourself. You want to grow and build that resilience and mental fitness. But you also want to come back to your comfort zone because that's where you recharge the batteries. Whether that be, sitting there and watching a movie or just spending time with people you enjoy or just being by yourself and reading a book, that is your place to recharge, which will give you the energy to then go outside your comfort zone to continue growing. So for me, it's been interesting. Yeah. Been very, very interesting, that relationship with anxiety. And yeah, as I said, I still get nervous, but understanding that there was a study done where there's a big correlation between anxiety and actually being excited.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
You get on the physiological level, you get the same kind of things like sweaty palms and jitteriness and stuff like that. You're actually excited. So for me, I'm like, am I anxious or am I excited because I'm able to invite someone of a high caliber into my studio to have this conversation, and it's not only going to add value to my life through the knowledge that they're going to share with me, but I'm going to be able to go and share that with whoever listens to the podcast. I'm like, that pumps me up.
Yeah.
And it's just another piece of the puzzle, coming back to that puzzle again. It's another piece that's going to allow me to continue growing and evolving into where I want to go to in the future. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's mad. It's cool to know that there is a study relating the two things together between nerves and excitement, because I actually made my own conclusion with that. I would say probably about 6 months ago, feeling those nerves. I started to feel nerves. But at the same time, I was like still going towards that thing. So I kind of made my own description of like, oh, well, when I feel nervous now, that's a good thing, because like it lets me know that what I'm about to do is important.
It shows that you care.
Yeah, exactly right. It shows that I care, and whoever feels it cares. I do struggle a lot with the understanding on anxiety. Is it a completely separate thing from nerve? Like I struggle to even identify whether I am the type of person who feels anxious or whether I just feel nervous about situations, you know?
Well, when you look at anxiety, it's what is it? It's the fear of the unknown, right? You get anxious going into a new environment because, oh, what can happen? I don't know. You haven't met you before. I'm walking to a random house, a random studio. I have no clue what's going to happen. So it's that fear of the unknown. Then people start creating all these narratives of what can go wrong. Mm-hmm. And it just spirals out of control, where you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm jittering. I can't control this. All these bad things are going to happen. When in fact, none of that ever happens.
Yeah.
It's just what you create in your head.
Yeah.
But if you take a step back and go, okay, cool. I'm a bit anxious right now. It is what it is. I am not anxiety. I'm experiencing anxiety right now. And once you embrace it, once you accept it, you're able to walk into a new environment and be like, okay, cool. This is what's going to happen. I have no control over this, but I can control how I turn up in this situation. I can be calm. Whether that be, for me, I do meditation. I do a breath work before each episode, because that allows me to get into a mental state of calmness, being able to relax, be able to think clearly, so I don't get caught up in my head thinking of all the negative things that could happen.
Yeah.
It's finding what works best for you.
Yeah.
But it's also, you need to have the self-awareness to realize what you're feeling in that moment as well. Because if you have no awareness, how are you meant to monitor, how are you meant to implement strategies on things that you don't know or you don't understand why they're happening? So that's been a big pivotal thing for me, is having that awareness to understand it and then implementing tools, tips and strategies that can help me deal with it in those scenarios.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not saying I'm the type of person who's never felt anxious or anxiety. I just struggle to identify it, you know what I mean? It's why I do find it to be a curious conversation piece. But I like that you mentioned the fact that you do a breath work before your podcast that you do. Mm-hmm. It's not something that I've done too much, breath work and things. Meditation, for example, love it. I'm not in a position in my life right now where I am doing it. I should pick that back up again. It's an important thing to practice. But I mean, you've piqued my interest about what your progress, your method is before you do a podcast. Like, so you do that just before you start, but do you do much time researching? Do you do much time making notes? Like, how do you like to try and prepare for a podcast and separate that from how you actually do the podcast?
Preparation is key.
Yeah.
If you don't prepare, you're going to fail. And for me, I usually have like 2 pages of just preparation.
Do you physically or do you
No,
like
I
notes?
have Google Docs, but
Yeah,
2 pages.
yeah.
And it all starts off with, well, first of all, you got to invite that person on. So why am I inviting them on? What have I seen on their social media that's drawn my attention? Have they written a book where I've been interested in that as well? Why do I even want to ask this person on in the first place? Yes, following on social media plays a part in it, because if you're reaching people who have big followers, it's going to help with your growth as well. But ultimately, it comes down to, am I actually interested in this person?
Yeah.
Can you actually communicate? Because you can go have 1 million followers, but you can't even string a sentence together, right? So why would I invite you on my podcast when it's just going to be so choppy and no flow to it? I've had podcasts before where I thought, oh, wow, this person's awesome. They've got a mad following. They've done so many things within their life, but they can't communicate. And I did not enjoy that conversation at all. And it got to a point where I'm like, do I even put this out there?
Yeah, wow.
I did, because I don't know. I felt like I put that time and energy into it.
Yeah, of course.
So I may as well put it out, because there was value in it. It just may not have been communicated in a great way. But preparation is key. It starts with finding the right guest. Can they communicate? Have they done a podcast before? I usually listen to 1 or 2 podcasts that they've done before. It gives me a base idea of who they are, what they stand for, their values, and can they communicate? I'll go through their social media. I'll scroll all the way back to the beginning if I can, and I'll just go through any kind of information that I can find that kind of triggers me to go, hey, that's an interesting point. You've touched on it, but I want to dive deeper into that, whether that be within their childhood or adversity or something that's come throughout their life. I want to touch into that. So I just make notes of topics, of subjects, and that's the first thing of just making that list. And then I'll go back through and I'll start making a list of like questions that I want to ask around that. And I just dive deeper and deeper and deeper. What I've started to do now is if I find, say, something from their childhood and they've posted a picture and they've made a caption about it and I want to dive deeper into it, I will print that photo off and I'll show that during the podcast. I just started
That's powerful, dude.
Bro.
Yeah, when I watched that, I thought, fuck, that is impressive. That is raw. I saw and felt how the other person felt seeing that. Mm-hmm. It was awesome.
Because essentially what you want to do, whether that be during the podcast or social media posts, is you want to create an emotional response, whether that be good, bad, whatever the case is, but you want to create that emotional response because that's going to allow them to really tap into what's inside, and what comes out is usually going to be raw and vulnerable. And what I found through just starting to do this thing of, printing out photos and sharing it, or even referring back to posts or something that they've said, one, it shows that you care, you've done your research, and that you're actually interested in them as a person in their journey. So they're going to be like, okay, cool. I feel comfortable now. I can open up. I can be raw. I can be vulnerable. And that's where the power is. That's where the true value is, in that vulnerability. And every time someone gets emotional on a podcast, I'm like, ching, I hit the spot. I did something right here. Planning is massive for me. I'll take 3-4 days just to plan for a podcast. And I'll stay up late, make all my lists. Because if I know if I'm not prepared, my mindset, the anxiety kicks in because I'm like, oh shit, like I haven't prepared, I haven't done this wrong. What could happen? That's a tool that I implement. Yes, the breath work, yes, the meditation, but being highly prepared. But also, because I've done it so long, I don't just stick to my notes. That is like the base of what I refer to. But because I've had nearly 300 conversations, I'm able to go off a different rabbit hole, off a different path, and dig into different topics on a deeper level, but still come back to that structure, come back to that planning, and in a way feel safe within myself that I can navigate this conversation and get to where I want to get to. So, man, planning has been pivotal. Some people can just go off the bat and just have conversations. For me, I can't do that. Yeah. So I need preparation, I need structure, which then allows me to go with the flow of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I find that I am pretty capable of automatic just flow. I enter this state, and I talked about it on a podcast just yesterday afternoon. It's I think he called it SFS, social flow state. I think that's how he called it. I call it autopilot. Yeah, I just let it come out. But I do see a massive difference in my own potential, and I see the difference in our content, that what the preparation can provide. We have a saying in my trade, the 7 P's of refrigeration, which is it's proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. A lot of trades use it, but I like to say it's for fridgies only. I do notice my lack in that field, and it's not from a point of laziness. I think I've let too much ego take over to a point where I feel comfortable enough talking because it's just being with the boys. So then when someone comes over every now and then that I'm not familiar with, say I reach out like online, I think to myself, like, I definitely could have put more work into doing this. I got to stop running with the ego, stop running with the pride, and start putting in the more groundwork, the more hours beforehand, I do obviously find a struggle, so I'm curious to know with you, with the time management side of things as well. Do you have the free time in order to do that, or do you force the time in order to do that?
Time management, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a funny conversation. I wear many hats.
Yeah.
Got my day job. I got my business, which is my media company. I got my podcast. I got being a father. I got being a partner. So time management has been very interesting this last 12 months of how can I juggle it all. For me, it comes down to priorities. There's going to be days where your priority has to be your family or your work. And then there's going to be other days where I can just sit there and I can edit podcasting and do research and stuff like that. Working out your priorities has been so pivotal for me to be able to kind of find that balance. So right now, obviously, I've got to go to my day job. I knock off between 3 and 5, go home, be a parent, be a partner. As soon as my daughter goes to sleep, it's like, okay, cool. I can focus on my podcast. I can focus on my media company. So Monday to Wednesday, between 8 and 10:30, 11, I work on my media company. And then from Thursday to like Saturday, Sunday, it's all podcast stuff. So it's just breaking it up into different avenues of knowing that I can just focus on it, this particular business or this podcast or my family at different stages, but then also not neglecting myself. So I've made it a pivotal thing for me to read every day, read 10 pages to make sure that I'm getting in my exercise, whether that be gym, going for a run or something like that. Because I know within myself, if I do not look after myself, I'm not going to have the energy. I'm not going to have the correct state of mind to be able to put it into these other avenues in my life. And I believe your health and fitness is the foundation of anything. You need to focus on that. Without that, you've got nothing. Yes, you can have the business, the money and all that stuff, but there's going to become a point where you've made all this money, but now you've got to put all that money into trying to gain your health back because you've let go of it so much. So why don't you just focus on your health in the first place, which is then going to propel all these other areas of your life anyway, and you're going to get a lot further and you're going to be a lot happier, healthier and fulfilled. So for me, it comes down to priorities. And once you do that and living your life in alignment with your values as well. So many people are not. They're going to a job that they hate and they're not doing the things that align with them, align with their values. You know, they're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, eating shitty food. What are your values? Like, do you value unhealthiness or do you value actually being healthy and being able to, say, go to the park and play with your kid? Because I never wanted to be a father that would sit on the couch and go to my daughter, hey, you can achieve anything you want in life. You can do anything whilst I sit here and do nothing. Mm-hmm. As a father, you have to lead by example. You have to lay that foundation for them so they can be the best versions of themselves because they see what you do and they're just going to mirror that. So for me, I got to be that positive role model. I got to be that positive mirror for them so they can go out and do the same things too. Like, I got a home gym at home. My daughter comes in there, she lifts the weights, she does push-ups, she wants to get up on the pull-up bar and do pull-ups. Setting that example for her, so when she gets older, she's like, okay, this is what's required of me to be the best version of myself, and focusing, coming back to that mental fitness, that mind, that body, that spirit. It's going to allow for so many other avenues within your life to be successful because you're focusing on that core value of health and fitness.
Yeah, that's mad, dude. And I completely agree with you when you say that it all comes down to your health. If that's not priority, then the rest of the cookies are just going to start to crumble away. In my own life, I'm not taking as much interest. I wouldn't say interest, but I'm not giving myself enough time to be doing the fitness thing. You know, I'm kind of prioritizing other things, but I should reshift my values.
Comes down to
on
discipline,
that.
bro.
Yeah, 100%.
You need to have that discipline, even if it's half an hour a day. Like, if you can do half an hour to lift some weights, even just doing push-ups, like even if you do 50 to 100 push-ups a day, no one should have the excuse of, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many people sit there.
And honestly, it would take 10, 15 minutes at most for anyone.
Go for a walk. Go for a run. Yet people will sit there and go, I don't have time, but I've just watched freaking 5 episodes of a series on Netflix. I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Or I sat there and eaten a block of chocolate. Like, get your fucking priorities right.
Yeah.
Because what value, what impact, what example are you setting for not only yourself, for the people around you, your kids, if you're going to continue going down that path in life?
Yeah, I agree, dude. And it's mad. It's inspirational and it's motivating too, because time management is the one thing that I'm trying to figure out at the moment. I feel like if I can get my life into a scheduled routine system, everything's going to I don't even know how to say
Reap
it.
the rewards, the benefits of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for that. I'm going to start trying to take advice from that. I'll start trying to put a couple more days left aside for certain things. When it comes to, you said you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for podcasting, you leave that.
Yeah.
Then you also mentioned the media content as well and company. What is that you talk about, the media side of it?
So it's called Better Media. And essentially it came off the back of me building my own podcast studio. I'm like, I don't use this all the time. How can I, one, make some money on the side, and two, help other podcasters? Because I knew what it was like when I first started. I was like, well, imagine if I had a studio. Imagine if I could easily walk into a studio, record my podcast at high quality, and just walk out and everything's kind of taken care of for me. So that was where the idea came from of, why don't I hire out this space to other podcasters so they can come in and do their thing? That's where it was born. And for me, it's really grown. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't even think many people would be interested. But for a side hustle, I made $20K from it last year.
Damn, bro.
Just from hiring out my studio, doing editing, all that kind of stuff. So from Monday to Wednesday, the thing that I'm mostly doing is, yes, people are coming through and hiring the studio, but it's, for me, I'm editing their content as well. So through doing that, I'm working on my skills. I'm able to implement new things, which then I can go implement into my own podcast and take my content to a whole new level as well. So it's been an interesting journey this year. The goal is to get 60K from it.
Man,
if I can get 60K plus on top of my day job, I'm cheering, right? And then eventually the ultimate goal is to get a warehouse space, have 1 or 2 studios, have a gym, have a sauna, recovery place. So just have this, I like to call it like a mental fitness hub where you can come in, you can record content, you can work on your body, your mind, your spirit. It's just that all-in-one thing, because for me, they're the people I want to work with. I want to work with content creators or inspire content creators to look after themselves as well. Because as I said, health is the foundation of your success. So if you want a successful podcast, if you want to be a successful YouTuber, whatever the case is, you got to look after yourself. So if we're going to have that all in one place, I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude. It's the same similar end goal that I've got too. I'd love to have a space that not only can I film content, but I would love to be able to host a platform in which other people can host their own podcast as well. It's hopefully one of the goals I'm trying to get started by the end of this year. I kind of have this as more of like an open space at the moment if people want to come give it a go. So far, not people talk about it. Not anyone yet has come and done it. But I'd love to be able to give that opportunity as well, just because I've already got the setup. So it'd be pretty easy for someone just to come and give it a go. And again, a warehouse to have the fitness as well. My mates, a lot of us, we're really into fighting and boxing, and some of them into the jiu-jitsu, MMA and all that stuff as well. I'd love to have a place with a big mat, a big ring, you know what I mean? And a sauna especially. Gosh, that'd be the end goal. That's the end goal for me, bro. A couple of the things that you touched on that I can't wait to dive into is being a father. Like that's it's funny that some people aren't necessarily that interested, but for me, just hearing the word, especially being at mid-20s, it's such an interesting, exciting chapter that I can't wait to become a part of. Take us back to your mindset when you first found out. How old were you? What was your circumstances like? Your headspace? How was that?
I was 24 when I found out. God, it's taking me back. That period of my life was very interesting. I wouldn't say it was a dark period, but it was more so a period where I felt lost. 24, finding out that you're going to be a father, still living with your parents, not really knowing the direction that you want to go in life. There was a couple of nights so I lived up in the Blue Mountains at my parents' house, and the bush was right there. So there was a couple of nights where I would just go into the bush and just sit with myself, and there was a few nights where I cried. I'm like, where is my life heading? What direction am I going in? I can't even look after myself most of the time. How am I going to look after a child that's going to be so dependent on me? How can I do this? And it was a very interesting time of, I don't know. I felt lost. The fear of the unknown come up again, and a lot of anxiety came up for me. And thinking back now, it was actually one of the best times of my life, because that allowed me to really sit and think with it and understand, like, hey, I need to step up my game here. I'm going to be a dad. I got to start looking after myself. I got to start putting in the work, growing, the business, the podcast, looking after myself, looking after my partner, so that I can be the best father that I can be for my daughter. Yep. And I remember when she was born, prior to that, everyone was like, oh, kids are going to change your life. And I was like, really? Like, it's just a kid. Like, surely not.
Yeah, I know. Ignorance, eh?
Yeah. Let me tell you, having a child and holding your own flesh and blood for the first time is a whole new level of love. Like, I never thought I could love a little human so much. And yeah, I love that little girl, man. Like, she's the best achievement that I've my life so far.
Wow.
Like, I wouldn't have life any other way. Yes, there's been sleepless nights, there's been challenges, there's been adversity, there's been a lot of ups and downs that comes with parenthood, but that has made me into the man that I am today. Because looking back then, I see myself as a boy. I was a boy. Now, I've been able to step into manhood, and I've been able to be a man. And it's like that initiation.
Yeah.
And wouldn't have it any other way, bro. Like, and it's hard to explain unless you're a father yourself. And a lot of fathers will, if they're listening to this, they'll go, yeah. You can't really put it into words, but it's just this feeling of achievement that you've created something. It's your own flesh and blood, and now it's your job to step up as a man, as a father, to create that foundation, because you brought them into this world. So it's your job to lead by example. They don't owe you anything. You owe them everything. And that's been a biggest lesson for me, is you got to do everything possible to create that foundation for them. Because there's so many broken homes. There's so many kids that grow up with not the healthiest role models, not the healthiest environments. And you see, unfortunately, the way that they turn out, and the problems that they go through, and crime and suicide and all these kind of things, that can be taken totally out of play through just being a good parent, through creating that healthy environment for them to blossom and to understand themselves, to understand their emotions, but to be able to understand that life isn't all sunshines and rainbows. There's fucking going to be adversity. And for me, I don't cuddle my daughter. I'm like, fuck, if you're going to fall off your bike, you're going to fall off your bike, because she gets back up. She learns to be strong, individual woman, but also understanding that her dad's always going to be there for her. If anything goes wrong, she can always come back to me, because I've built that trust. I built that relationship with her. And she's only 2, but she's my little girl, man, and I fucking love her.
That's gang, bro. I'm excited, bro. It's mad hearing it. And I have to give you props again, just for all the hats you do wear. I understand how difficult it is running a podcast, having side business, working full time, being a partner, being a father on top of that is enormous. That's the biggest hat of all. You know what I mean? That's your crown. I'm in a position in my life where my partner has a son and he's 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just that feeling of knowing that you're impacting and helping raise and molding the mind, and he's a shadow, dude. Like, it does. If I show up without a shirt on, I want to take my shirt off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt you want to take your shirt off. I'm not wearing a shirt. Of course you do. If I'm thirsty, I'm thirsty. I could have guessed that, dude. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's such an amazing feeling, and he's not even my own blood, but there's still the love there I have just because of the innocence and you know, I tell him all the time, I say to him, dude, you know how little and innocent you are, dude? You're the best person in my life. You know what I mean? So I'm manifesting in my own life, but by the end of 2024, I'll get to experience that first moment for myself, you know, holding my own flesh, my own blood, and starting from the beginning process of the whole thing. Love's an interesting thing where I don't necessarily think it's something that has to be created through blood or even through choice or through destiny. It's something that just happens, a force that kind of just brings people together, kind of like through destiny, but at the same time, you can choose whether you want to do it or not. And yeah, that love that everyone speaks of, I'm excited to experience that. And I'm also curious to know whether it's relatable in any other field of life. You know what I mean? Parenthood's it's a crazy journey, and I'm excited to start it from the beginning. You know, I really, really am. But the hats, bro, like the hats in itself is just, it's so respectable, bro. That juggle is something that most people don't do. And actually I can tell just by talking to you, it comes from a place of selflessness. Of course you want to be able to be as selfish as you need to be, because everyone wants to have their own mad future. But that moment of, you call it initiation, like that is all from selflessness. You want to be able to provide the best possible life for someone else. And I think that what a masculine and being a man, and I think that what those words that we use to summarize just a male, I think it comes from responsibility. You know, the older I'm getting and the more deeper I'm trying to think about it, I feel like a man or someone who is masculine, he handles his responsibility. So it makes sense that that's how you felt like your initiation came from, you know, the ultimate responsibility. You know?
Taking ownership of your shit.
Yeah.
So many men that knock up women and then they disappear.
Yeah.
You're not owning your shit. You're a boy.
Yeah.
You're not being a man. You need to step up to the table and fucking sit down and eat the food that you made for yourself. You know, you I said you brought this child into this world. It's your responsibility now to be your best self. You can't pour from an empty cup. So yes, people may see elements of my life of being selfish or putting so much time and energy into a podcast or business, but why am I doing that? Yes, it's gonna grow, and I would love for it to grow. But off the back of that, that's going to allow me to provide a better future for my family and to be able to give back to other people. So you can't pour from an empty cup. You got to be selfish so then you can be selfless.
100%, dude. This is a famous old traditional quote that's so, I wouldn't even call it overused, but it's underestimated. It's that you will never learn how to love until you love yourself. It just stretches itself across every avenue in life. And in order to be the best parent, I'm guessing that's where the fitness and the health and the thing gets its roots and its tradition and its origin from. It's because if you don't live forever, then I'm assuming then that maybe that's not as much time as you'd like to be alive for, to experience the fruits of selflessness, you know, spending time and providing and giving. Now, one thing that I was curious about on that whole subject was, what do you think your future is going to look like as a father from here on out? Is it going to become easier? Is it going to be harder? Daughter in itself is something that I can't wait to experience. You know, the princess in itself is such a nostalgic feeling that I can't wait to feel, having a princess that you know is just yours. Do you feel like it's going to become challenging? You know what I mean? Like that for me personally, there's a bit of fear behind all that.
I was speaking to my partner about this the other day because I'm like, oh, how many kids do you want to have? And I was like, you know, the first one you fuck up. You have no clue what's going on. The second one, you get a bit better. But by the third and fourth one, you might be, you know, you might have it under control by then.
The ego comes out.
And the first and second one can kind of help you. So I was like, you know what? Let's just have 4 because we'll fuck up the first 2. And by 3 and 4, we should be pretty good.
Yeah.
Parenting doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
I think your understanding or the tips and the strategies that you implement help a lot. And you evolve and you gain over time, but it's never going to get easy. And you speak about princess. My daughter isn't a princess, bro. She is a devil, man. She is a devil full of attitude, and she gets that from her mother.
Yeah.
But I love her, and I wouldn't have it any other way because, yes, she has that devil side of her, but she is so loving and she's so caring, and she's like, Daddy, I love you, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it just melts your heart knowing that little girl looks up to you. And I'm creating the foundation and the future for her. It's
Tell me about this fear, bro.
It's
You know?
challenging. It's
Yeah.
fearful. But for me, just stepping into the unknown, because every day is different when you have kids. One morning you may get up and everything goes so smoothly and you're going off to school and everything like that. One day they're absolute terror and they don't want to cooperate or do anything. Just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Understanding that shit's going to happen. You have kids. Nothing's perfect. You could speak to your parents and they will tell you the same thing. Like, every day is different. Once you accept that and you understand that, it is what it is, man. That's parenthood. Welcome to life.
Yeah. It's funny because like you can kind of see it in yourself and having a partner and stuff. And you know, sometimes you can just tell just by intuition and senses when someone didn't wake up in the best mood. You know what I mean? Somehow the sleep just wasn't what they needed. When there's a little one, you know straight away. You didn't wake up good this morning. You know what I mean? Some days it's all joyful, happy, ready to jump around. Other days it's just head down, sooky, mopey, angry. Like It's such a crazy roller coaster to witness. Did you have any experience with kids in your life at all before your own?
So coming into being a parent, that's why I'm so grateful for my partner, because she grew up and she had heaps of little siblings and cousins and babies and stuff around her. So she was very well prepared. Whereas for me, this was all new. It was only myself and my brother, and it was only 4 years apart. So I had no relation with any babies or children. So I was like, that's why in the beginning, when I first found out, I was like, I can't even look after myself. How am I going to look after a baby? It was so daunting. It was so fearful for me. But having a strong partner in my corner made things so much easier, because I just had to support her. And I just learnt. That's the thing about parenthood. You just learn as you go. I was like, I don't want to change nappies. Now I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Change nappy. It is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I didn't even think of that, bro.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. It's like, fuck, I don't want to touch a kid's shit and all that kind of stuff and vomit and all that.
Oh, man.
Man, once you become a parent, it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. You shat your pants. What it is. Let's clean it up.
Yeah.
You vomited in the bed. Yep, cool.
Responsibility.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
As I said, welcome to life. Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah.
Accept it. Embrace it. It is.
Yeah, dude, it's mad. 4 kids is a good number. I'll let you know. Rookie numbers, dude. Rookie numbers. I plan to have 6 boys. That's my minimum.
Good luck with that,
That's
mate.
my minimum, bro. I'm signing up for a rocket ship, bro. I'm ready to take this roller coaster to the moon. I can't wait. I wouldn't be able to answer if you said why. It's just a feeling I have, you know what I mean? I've always known it. I've always wanted it. I've wanted to be a father for a long time. Did you want to be a father since young?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a father, but for me, it was like, I want to get my financials under control. I want to, set myself up before I can, I guess in a way settle down and be able to have kids, because I never wanted to bring a child into this world where I couldn't financially support them. It happened, but it made me realize that you just got to go out there and work, and you got to find a way. And through doing that, I've been able to financially support my child. And that's just by being a man.
Yeah.
You find a way, you do what's necessary to step up and make things work.
Do you find yourself to be an intelligent person?
Well, I went to year 12, but I didn't get an ATAR, so I wouldn't really say I'm intelligent. I think it's more so just the willingness to learn and to grow and take action as well. That's the way I personally learn, is by physically going out and doing things and taking action. And through having those trials and those tribulations and those setbacks in life, that's where the biggest lessons in life are learned. So for me, I wouldn't say I'm intelligent. I'm just willing to go out there and take action.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like that. And it's funny I asked because it was only recently I had the podcast with Josh Saunders, and we went back and forward on intelligence.
He's a smart fucking dude,
yeah,
man.
dude. Very, very, very massive props to him. Big ups, because he's well spoken and deeply thought. You know, he knows what he means and he says it with authority. It's awesome to see. Now, we did go back and forward on intelligence, a little bit of a debate. You know what I mean? And by his definition of intelligence, it was along the lines of your availability to take in information, process it, and implicate it. It was along those lines, you know. And by that definition, I'm seeing and hearing so much intelligence from you, because you have the understanding, which a lot of people don't have. And that's, in order to become great or better, you have to put in the work in order to do so. You understand that, and you actually follow that out. You want to be the best father you can be. Right, I'm going to just have to go out there and make more money. I want to be able to grow my content creation. I want to be able to make better podcasts episodes. So let's work on them. Let's do the hardship. Let's create a routine. Let's do the time management. Let's do the steps. And you're seeking the fruits of your rewards, you know, in doing so. I think it's a high level of intelligence that people don't notice within themselves, and it's their availability to take action. You know, I think that comes from a point of intelligence for sure.
Yeah, the way you put that now, I'd probably reframe it and say, I am intelligent. I just love to put things in simple terms.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a overly like articulate or overcomplicated person. It's just like, okay, cool, this is what's necessary. How do I do it? Let's take action on it. So in a way, I am intelligent. Just put it in simple terms for me. But in saying that, knowing you're intelligent is if you can explain something to a 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
If you can put it in simple terms, it means you truly understand what you've learnt.
Not just that, sorry to cut you off if you're about to keep going, but I understand it working in my trade. I have had many senior techs working alongside me in companies, whether they're electricians or fridgies or even like completely different trades. But some of them are very, very smart in a sense where they could have written the curriculum. You know, they understand it in their own minds a lot, but they aren't smart enough to understand that I'm not smart enough to take in the information they're giving me with the way they're saying it. It's not just being able to break it down for yourself into the simplest form. It's being able to break it down simpler and start smaller for someone else to understand, which is like explaining it to a 3-year-old.
Yeah. Using stories, using analogies is the simplest way to explain something.
Yeah, you have to kind of have almost, not empathy, but you do have to be able to put yourself into someone else's shoes to understand that they have no idea where I'm coming from. So don't throw out all these complicated scientific terminology for things. Like, you have to be able to go down to the smallest level. I did notice outside air conditioning car. So do you have a trade in air conditioning?
Yeah, so it's a family business as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I have my media business, but this is another business that I will eventually get. Like, me and my brother are going to be taking that over. So that's another thing that requires a lot of time and energy and effort to go into that as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say air conditioning is a passion of mine. I don't love it. I don't enjoy it. And there was a period in my life where I seen it as a really negative thing. But I remember having a conversation with someone around values, and it's like, you need to shift your mindset when it comes to your day job, because what is your value? Your value is providing for your family, is your podcast. All right, think about it. If you didn't have this family business, if you didn't have this job, would you be able to have the income to be able to provide for your family, to put money into your studio, into equipment? And I was like, oh shit. When you put it like that, no. That flipped a switch for me. I was like, okay, cool. I'm super grateful for this job. It may not be a passion of mine, but it aligns with my values because it allows me to do these things, to provide for my family, to go on holidays. Like, last year, I went to Europe to play in the Oztag World Cup. I went to New Zealand for an Oztag tournament, right?
Wow.
If I didn't have this job, I wouldn't have the money to be able to go and do that. I wouldn't have my studio right now. So having that mindset shift and aligning what you may not love or enjoy, but aligning it to your values makes things so much better.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I'm very fortunate in a place in my life where I love my job. I have a passion for it. And the passion comes from the wanting to improve. You know, like, I have a little bit of an inside joke inside of the trade where I tell everyone that I'm going to be the best. There's nothing anyone can do, unfortunately, to stop it, but I'm here to take out everyone that's better than me. Comes from a place of healthy competition, of course.
Yep.
Like, it gives me someone to work faster against and, you know, go back and forward on ideas. And I love learning, you know. I'm trying to get to that level of number one. Once I'm number one, then I can leave, you know what I mean? It's not something I want to do forever. If I'm number one in 5 years, thank God, I'm ready to get out. But have to be number one in order to do so. But I do really enjoy the trade. It's interesting. In terms of education, you obviously went to TAFE and things in order to do that.
Yep.
Do you ever see yourself going back and doing any more education in the future? Are you interested in anything else? Like, you tried uni.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
For me, coming back to the podcast, bro, that's education in itself for me. There's so much information, knowledge you can get from my own podcast or listening to podcasts or audio books. So for me, why?
Yeah.
I can learn so much. Unless I wanted to expand in my trade or do something else, which I don't see right now because I'm just so focused on what I'm doing. I can learn so much from basically the internet.
Yeah, yeah. And self-teaching is such a positive and extra. I think the word's extramental way of learning. Like I find that by teaching myself something, I'm able to take in the information faster than if I was to go back to school and listen to someone tell me. You know,
Yeah.
I did enjoy going to TAFE. Don't get me wrong, but I actually had the textbook and I was able to just do it myself anyway. You know,
Yeah.
that's why podcasting and reading and things are the highest form of education.
Yeah, well, let's speak about trade, for example. Yes, you can go to TAFE and you can learn and kind of practice a bit, but when do you actually learn? When you're on job site and you're thrown in the deep end and the boss goes, you got to fix this issue. You got to repair this fridge or aircon or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, I got to figure this out now.
Yeah, pressure's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you figure it out. Lucky we got these things here.
Oh, yeah.
We can look up so many things like error codes and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That helps so much, and it'll allow you to problem solve and fix that. And then you're like, okay, cool. Next time this arises, I've learned from it. I can easily fix it next time. You learn by taking action
Yeah.
and learning from your mistakes too.
For sure. What are some of the craziest skills that you think that podcasting has brought into your life? Not just skills, but just like it's improved in other ways. You know, confidence is one.
Yep.
How are some other ways that it's improved in your life that makes it so fulfilling?
Definitely confidence, communication.
I'm glad you bring that up because
Yeah.
that's my top one.
Communication is the number one skill in the world. If you can't communicate how you're meant to get yourself out of any situation or get yourself into a situation, into a room of people that you want to be in, you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to sell yourself. Essentially, every day you're selling yourself. You're selling your value, who you are as a person, what impact and, you know, coming back to value, what value can you provide to other people? Whether that be coming back to me as a parent, your daughter, your partner, or the people that listen to the podcast. So communication has probably been the number one for me. And also, we speak on communication. A lot of people think of speaking. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. The biggest thing for podcasting is listening. Being able to listen, be able to articulate what's going on in your head, and then ask a question or to go deeper into a different topic, or knowing when it's time to be like, okay, cool, let's go somewhere else, or let's bring it back. Those are the key things for me. Confidence, communicating through speaking, but also listening too have been massive. And then overall, we spoke about it before, priorities. Because I do wear so many hats, and I know there's so many people out there that wear multiple hats, you got to come back to your priorities and your values. So they're probably the biggest things for me. And also patience, being able to play the long game. We spoke about it before. In the beginning, you're not going to make money from podcasting. You just got to go in there, you got to put in the reps and see where it takes you. This is my 5th year of podcasting. I'm not even thinking about 5 years. I'm thinking about 10 years, 15 years. Like, where am I going to be there? Look at Joe Rogan, for example. He's 10 plus years now. He only started gaining a lot of traction in like the 5th or 7th year of his podcasting journey. Yes, podcasting is massive now. That's why so many people can come in, feel like they can come into this space because, I've got 100K followers on social media. I can start this podcast. Oh, wow, there's actually so much more beneath the surface that you do not see. We spoke about planning. That takes me a couple of days. Planning, the editing. You know what's like editing.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't mind touching on editing a little bit, yeah.
Oh, bro. I stayed up to midnight last night editing my trailer for next week's episode.
Oh, my gosh.
It's taken me between 6 and 8 hours just for a 1.5-minute clip.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I go through the full episode, I pick out all the best parts, put it together, getting like B-roll and video and music and sound effects and just then putting it all together. Then you got to format it for YouTube, and then you got to reformat it for like Instagram and social media.
Yeah.
So that's another 1.5 hours there.
Yeah.
People don't see that. They go, the finished product. I can do that. I can sit on a couch. I can have the conversation. They do it. They buy all the equipment, and they go, wow.
The time.
I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
Which is why the stat I mentioned before, 80% of podcasters don't even make it past 10 episodes because they realize how hard it is, how much time and effort goes into podcasting. It's not worth it for a lot of people. That's why I have huge respect for people like yourself who can get to 70 plus episodes. For me, who can get to nearly 300 episodes, because it shows the grit, the determination, the will to play the long game, because you're passionate about it. You enjoy it. You know that what you're doing is adding value and having an impact, and it's going to pay off in the long run. With anything that you do, your health and fitness, your business, you don't become an overnight success. And the people that are seen as overnight successes, you don't see all the years of time and effort that they've put into themselves, that they've put into a business to get to where they are now. People don't see that.
Yeah, I know.
It's that iceberg analogy. You just see the tip. You don't see what's underneath it.
It's funny, speaking on other podcasts like Joe Rogan, for example, and it's how they have got the blueprint in order for us to follow in terms of hard work, dedication, commitment, consistency, all these kind of things. And speaking on overnight successes, like a lot of people believe, have you ever seen the podcast Shits and Gigs? It's been surfacing a lot lately. These two UK dark fellas who just sit down on the couch and they do like tweets and they read funny things. They bounce ideas off each other. They've grown this crazy traction of millions of followers through TikTok. It's been their mad cheat code for it, which I can't wait to get into that side of things as well. But everyone thinks, oh, they just came out of nowhere. I've been listening to them and and don't get me wrong, I'm not there from the beginning, but they spent 4 or 5 years working, sitting around, figuring it out, and it's probably in the top 2 most successful podcasts. And it's because they waited and they committed, patience again. The communication aspect of podcasting, as me too, my favorite part of it. My vocabulary is increasing episode by episode, I love it. And speaking on editing, when you go back and you get to edit the video that you just created, you get to hear it all again. You don't just get to take in information once, 2, 3, 4 times. If you go back and you're seeing how that looked and that kind of thing, cutting between cameras, it truly is the greatest way to improve personal growth, in my opinion. It's the experience of learning from more people. The communication, dude, it's amazing. But speaking on the editing side of it, how long does it take you to get one episode done, like in editing wise and stuff? I know you mentioned 8 to 10 hours for a trailer. That's crazy. I'm nowhere near that level of commitment yet. But what about like just to get a final product released?
As in just the full video?
Just the episode, yeah.
It's made it a lot easier now. So like I got the ATM Mini Pro ISO, so everything goes into that.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So it's just the interface where all your cameras, your microphone, everything goes into it.
Yep.
And you just get the raw footage from everything. And what I do is I put it into Premiere Pro, and there's like this AI thing called Autopod.
Yeah.
And it just fucking cuts it all up for me.
Yeah.
And then I just chuck my logo and stuff on it, enhance the audio. That has made things a lot easier. Prior to that, it was easily 10 plus hours a week in editing when I had to just do the multicam feature in Premiere Pro and switch it by myself.
That's what I'm up to at the moment.
Oh man, that took so long and I hated it. Then I went through a phase where I had an editor that was doing it for me, which saved me a lot of time, cost me a lot of money. Got to a point where I was like, there has to be an easier and cheaper way for me to do this. So I took it back. And yes, I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort in doing the editing, but it's paying off. Like the quality of the content has just gone to a whole new level. And the way I see it now is if someone's taking time out of their day to come into the studio to be a guest on my podcast, I want to provide the highest value for them. I want to provide the highest value content for them, whether that be the episode trailer, which 9 times out of 10 is the one clip that they will reshare the most. So then that gains me traction, but it provides them value too because it's content for them. But doing all the other little clips too, they're like, oh wow, like this guy's taking a lot of time and effort. I'm going to speak so highly of this guy, which is then going to allow me to get bigger and better guests. So yes, it can be a pain in the ass to stay up late and to edit clips and put so much time, so much energy into it, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It is worth it. Like I tell you right now, my network and the people that I have connections with right now and the people that I have lined up for this year on the podcast and I'm speaking to, it's like it wouldn't have even come about if I didn't, 1, have the studio and put the effort into building that, but 2, producing high quality content.
That's mad, dude. That's mad. I'm curious as well now, when you started off, do you feel like you're putting in the more hours in terms of editing side of things than than you used to, or is it the same? Is it less? Like,
I think it's more hours, it's just differently.
yeah,
So as I mentioned before, previously I had to manually light switch the cameras. Now I've got AI to do it. So instead of spending 10 hours on that, I put 10 hours into my trailer.
yeah, yeah,
So it's allowed me more time to put it into high quality, returning investments. So the trailer is a massive returning investment for me. Yes, it's 10 hours, but what I said before, it allows me to reach a bigger audience, which is then going to return me more listeners and growth and guests as well. So yeah, same amount of time, just in different areas.
that's cool. What's your schedule look like in terms of releasing videos, having people on, all that kind of thing?
It's a bit all over the place at the moment, to be honest. The most consistent thing is I release Monday mornings at 6 a.m. So next week I start the 2024 season. So first episode will go out then. That's the most consistent thing. I would love to get up to 2 episodes per week released. It's more so just getting people into the studio.
That's a massive difference too. 1 episode compared to 2 episodes is massive.
Yeah, I considered going back and doing, say, 1 in-person and 1 online podcast. I thought about it and I was like, I don't know if I would enjoy it. Because during COVID, I did heaps of online podcasts. The quality was shit. The lag, the internet. There were so many episodes where I just want this to end. I did not enjoy it one bit. The connection, the energy you feel from doing it in person is just like, that's why I do it. I love the connections. It's one of my biggest values. So for me, I want to do it in person.
Yeah.
Got to a stage where during winter, work dies down a bit. So I was able to take Fridays off work, and that was like my podcast day. I was doing like 2 or 3 episodes in a day, just recording. So that set me up for a couple of weeks. Now with summer, very busy period in my line of work. So it's just like finding time on the weekends to do it. Just like on a Sunday or a Saturday, just, okay, can you come in, do this time? It's working. Eventually winter's going to come again. I'm going to take Fridays off. If I build my media company, it's going to allow me to take hopefully Thursday and Friday off, and I can just really put a lot of time and energy into recording podcasts. And a big thing for me and what I've always wanted to do is align travel and business together. I want to do podcast tours. I want to travel to, say, even if it's Wollongong or Newcastle, there's heaps of people that I know there, hire out a studio or hire out an Airbnb and just set up a set there where I can have a bunch of people come through and just record. So that's one of my goals for this year, is to do a couple of podcast tours. I'm going over to Bali in a couple of months, and there's some people over there that I want to connect with too. So that's all in the thought process, and it's up to me to take action on it. So
That's mad.
it is what it is. We'll see what the year holds.
Yeah, that's mad, dude. That's so cool. How you did mention you had a couple exciting guests that you're looking forward to connecting with this year. Any sneak peeks or anything like that? Are you going to save it for?
I don't like to tell until it's recorded.
Yeah.
Because anything can happen. They could easily pull out at any moment. But I have a bunch of messages of people where they're like, yeah, I'm keen, let's do it, let's align a date. The thing I found the hardest with not only my schedule, but people that are business owners and like high network, it's very hard to align a schedule.
Yeah.
Especially if they have to travel out to Penrith, if they're based in the city or wherever. So for me, it's like I need 100% cement that booking, get it recorded, and then I can speak about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some people that I'm really interested in, and I'm excited. Like I want to get Tyson Pedro on.
Damn.
I mean, communications, I'm hoping to get him on soon. There's another one, I will say he's booked in. James Tahuna is an ex-UFC fighter.
Mad.
So he's going to be coming through. So yeah, there's a couple of people, NRL players. As I said, their schedule's busy with training and stuff. It's just aligning it and getting him through.
Yeah, bro, it's mad, dude. I'm loving the hustle. It's so sick. So exciting to see. You mentioned podcast tours and stuff. I've kind of had a couple little moments where I've just travelled out to like Melbourne and things like that, and I've gone away for work, and I've taken some of the stuff with me, cameras and microphones and stuff. It is fun. You ever done anything like that where you just take things somewhere else other than your normal location?
Yeah. So last year I went to the city a couple of times, packed up all my stuff, Man, it's a pain in the ass
It's
to
a
try and
job,
pack up
eh?
all your equipment.
Yeah.
Like 2 suit briefcases full. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's why if I'm going to do it, I'm either going to hire a studio or hire an Airbnb and pump out a bunch of them so I don't have to continuously move around.
Yeah, it's great thinking. How do you handle the situations when someone can't turn up in the last minute?
It is what it is. That's why for me, it's like I need to be recording and have episodes backed up for like 3 or 4 weeks because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. People are going to pull out. They may be sick or family, whatever the case is. There's always going to be a guest that goes, I got to reschedule. So if I can be prepared, if I can be like, okay, cool, it is what it is. I already got an episode for next week. No stress. Let's rebook it. So it comes down to that preparation and being like 3 to 4 weeks recording in advance.
Yeah, I'm just starting to work that out now, dude. I've been trying for a long time. I've been literally recording sometimes Sunday morning, getting them edited Sunday night, getting it out for Monday. Monday is my release date too.
Oh, I wish I could record on a Sunday morning and get it out Monday.
Oh, dude, it's long, man. It's long. Like I'm pumping. I chuck a Zin in. You seen those tobacco pouches? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I chuck one of those in and I just like have about 2 or 3 cups of coffee and I refuse to get up off my seat. I can't go bathroom. I can't eat. Like, it's just a full day, dude, up until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. It's a bit difficult sometimes for me because I do night shift and I am working and
Oh, okay.
I'm taking a break at the moment, holiday period, but I work Sunday night till Thursday night. So I get like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning off. So if I record on a Sunday morning then, I'm in trouble because I've got to be at
Yeah.
work by 9 p.m, you know.
Shit.
I'm in trouble, dude. I've had it a couple of times. It ain't fun. But lately I've gotten myself into a position, thankfully, because I've taken the time off work, where I think I've backed up probably about, I'd say probably 10 maybe if I'm lucky, probably about
Oh, that's
10.
good then, man.
So I do find a little bit of trouble in that though, in a sense where you can't talk about anything that's happening recently. Have you noticed that problem at all by doing so? Like say something pops up and you bring
Yeah.
it up. All of a sudden, I remember I did it back in the day. I think once I got to about 6 episodes or something like that. So then by the time that comes out, it's been a month and a half. We're talking about Andrew Tate or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's been in jail for now 5 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a hard thing when it comes to podcasting. That's why I just kind of keep it. Yes, you want to keep it relevant, but not so much like stuff that's happening in the news.
Yeah.
Because that just blows past
Yeah,
very
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Especially if you're going to look back. You know, if you're going to look back, it's kind of a waste of a conversation. Yeah, for sure. Man, I can't wait to start reaching out to more guests. One thing that I'm curious is how do you find your guests, bro? Because you have such a wide variety of interesting people. I mentioned it on the intro, but honestly, like it's like most of them, I've got to be honest, I have no idea who they are. Never heard of them.
Me either.
Yeah. But the level of deep communication these people are not only able to provide, but interesting stories and things happening in their life and experiences. How do you find people like that, bro?
Network and reputation, man.
Yeah.
Like one person points you in the direction of 3 other people and they point you in the direction of other people. Like I'll get a guest in and at the end of each episode I'll go, hey, like who do you think would be a good guest for the episode? And I'll just jot down names. I'm like, okay, cool. I research them. You're interesting, reach out. And at a time, I'll reach out to like 20 people. And, 10, 15 will say yes. I was like, okay, cool. Let's try and book a time. Most of these people I haven't even heard of before.
Yeah.
But if I'm interested, I want to have a conversation with you because there's going to be knowledge, there's going to be value that you can pass on to me, which is going to go pass on to the audience as well. So social media has played a massive part in that. Like even I'll just be scrolling through social media and another podcast that I follow, because I have a lot of friends in the space that are also podcasters. And I'm like, oh, you went on his podcast? You're interested. I'm going to reach out to you as well. So it's this whole little network that you become a part of once you start this thing and you start reaching out and you start building your network. It's crazy the amount of people that you can get connected with.
Yeah, that's mad. So how did you end up getting a part of this podcast community? Because you're the first person I've ever met. I can't lie. There's like, say for example, Saunders who came on, who runs his online Spotify one. And I have got a couple of people that I've met who have done it before, tried it, things like that. But how do you get yourself inside of that community? Is it just by reaching out? Is that all it comes down to?
Reaching out, man.
Yeah.
Reaching out. I just come across podcasters that are in the Sydney area and I just reach out like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? I'll jump on yours, you jump on mine. You just kind of build that connection there. And then, you kind of follow the journey and see who they've had on, they see who you've had on, and it's awesome.
Does anyone in your own personal friend group or life do any type of content creation video?
Well, you're
like
Josh.
that?
I speak to him a lot.
Oh, so he's one, you know him outside of the online community?
So I found him through podcasting, but we were speaking, and he's actually going to be coming back on the podcast the next month or so. We're going to do another episode there too. So a couple of my mates that I've pretty much all found them through content.
Nice.
There's a guy down in Wollongong called Bradley Drybra. He runs a really awesome podcast down there. He's someone that I plan to link up with this year when I do a little Wollongong tour. He's had some amazing guests on. He does a lot of public speaking and stuff like that. So, yeah, you just build connections over time, and it's really, really small but large space to be in too.
Yeah, it's massive, bro.
Yeah.
It's massive. I'm only starting to see the doors open to how wide these lounge rooms are, bro. They're crazy. It's awesome. I'm slowly starting to just not hang around, but just encounter people in my life who have started doing content creation. I love watching some of the people I know, like, just start wanting to become a bit more of an influencer, you know, with their consistency of Instagram posts, gaining followers, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to push most people to start recording. You know, it doesn't have to be podcasting, but it's funny because you reminded me in the beginning when you said when you pulled out your Canon video and you're just like, shit, you know. I love it when my mates send me their first ever videos. I love it, bro. They're on their phone. Shout out to my mate Patrick. He's one of my best mates, and he set up. He's like, "Hey guys, Pat, I'm gonna be changing this part in my car today," and I just see him just be like, "What am I doing this for?" You know. But I couldn't recommend anyone any more information than pick up a video and record it. Are you similar? Do you advise people to start making videos or not really?
If it's something, if you have value to add, if you want to have an impact, if it's the path you want to go down, definitely. But also look at it from a point of view as your personal journal. Like, you're documenting your life, and these are videos that you can go back and look at. And that was a big thing why I started vlogging too, was I knew when I wanted to have kids, they can go back and follow the journey. They can see where dad started to where he is now. Look at the change, look at the growth. And because my daughter's too, like, she's a part of videos and stuff like that, so she can go back and say, like, wow, like, these are videos of me when I was little. Because you don't remember that stuff unless it's captured. So for that to be there, to be on YouTube, or you can just keep it private if you want, but definitely document the journey. Whether that be video, written, whatever the case is, document it. If you want to put it out, put it out. Highly recommend it though.
Yeah, that's what I say to the boys as well. You don't even have to post it. Start making it. Like, just start putting some things together. You can do it on your phone. You can just start making montages of things. And the way I look at it is that if I could have any gift that came to me out of nowhere from the universe, it would be documentation of my ancestors at my age. I'd love to be able to watch my grandfather and see what he was like, even my own father and the fathers before them. You know, both sides, mum and dad. I'm kind of building that already for my future kids. You know what I mean? Like, I know what it feels like to want to have it, so it's nice to be able to provide that. You know, I think I'd like to be able to look back with my kids, and whether they're in it with you or not, be able to be like, this is who I was. I was young. I was 25. I was dumb. I thought I had it figured out. I didn't. I knew I didn't have it figured out, but I still thought I had it figured out. You know, that kind of leads me to something else as well. Do you feel like reaching the age you are today, you're having more of an understanding? And do you feel like, I'll summarize it like by saying this: if I know anything, I know nothing. All right, it's an old famous quote. And the older I get, the more aware I become of the fact that I think I'm figuring things out, which lets me know you got no idea what's happening in your life, bro. Where do you think most of your experiences so far have come from? And do you think you're starting to figure it out, or you don't have any idea so far?
I have no clue what's going on. I just wake up every day and go, what can I learn today, and what action can I take towards being a better version of myself? You're never going to know what the future holds. As I said, life is on a thread. It could be, I could walk out here and get in a car accident. Fuck, is there any wood in here? Touch wood, I don't. But anything can happen. You just don't know. That's the beauty of life. And that's why I say step into the fear of the unknown. Because that's where the growth happens.
It's crazy, dude, because it's like I'm very, I don't know, egotistical is a word for it, but I feel like I might just run with that word, but like I think to myself, like I'm pretty aware of everything that's happening. I know how people are feeling about me, how I'm impacting others, and then only 2 weeks will go by and it's like, you're so dumb, bro. You've got no idea. Experience, it kind of, people say you learn from experience, but in a way, you just feel more comfortable with your current situation. You don't really learn because you later learn that you were wrong. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's a weird thing, but I like that you bring up the fear of the unknown, because it's one thing I wanted to kind of segue off the podcast conversation and kind of lead towards the unknown. So I want to know, are you a spiritual person at all? Do you consider yourself to be that?
I don't know about spiritual. I believe there's a higher being. I believe everything happens for a reason and we're all energy. I don't go down the path of like deep spirituality and stuff like that. Like I do meditation and breathwork and stuff, but I'm not like mad woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I do believe we are an energy force and you just got to go with the flow of life, and the energy you put out is what you're going to receive. And there is a higher being out there. And I speak a lot, the podcast is around mental health, and a big reason why I now believe that mental health is so prevalent, like poor mental health and mental illness is prevalent, especially as men, is that ego. We feel like we have to do everything ourselves, and we don't believe we're a part of something bigger. We don't believe there's a higher purpose. There's a higher energy force out there that is in our corner, that is backing us. We feel like we're alone. We have to do it ourselves, which is why a lot of the times we do fall into dark holes, because we feel like it's just us. And yes, you have to take the action. Yes, you have to dig yourself out of it. But if you can understand, if you can have the awareness and embrace that, hey, there's this energy in my corner that no matter what happens, I'll get through it, I think that will solve a lot of issues. It's just a mindset thing of understanding your ego, but also removing the part of that ego of, I have to do this by myself. I'm the only one that can get myself out of this. Because you're not. You got to take the action on it, but there's always someone in your corner.
Yeah, it's such an important thing to know that you have someone who cares, Unfortunately, some people don't think they have, but realistically, the internet's full of places you can go to. There is always someone there, and that kind of comes back to a bit more of a spiritual belief in a higher power. That's why some people believe there is always someone there, because there is that higher power providing that opportunity for someone to get help. I did notice a lot in watching your content that you do focus around mental health.
Yep.
It's an awesome, amazing part of your journey that I'm so glad that you do, because the world needs it. I try and do a final question at the end of the podcast that kind of touches on the subject of mental health. But before I do get to that in the end, I want to know why you're so passionate about it.
Because we all have it. We all go through the trials and the tribulations of life. We all go through adversity. And a big thing that I figured out in the beginning of this podcasting journey was I'm not alone. I thought I was the only one that went through adversity, who went through the highs and lows of life. But through having the conversations, I realized so does everyone else. Yet we've been indoctrinated to feel like we can't express our feelings, especially as men. We can't talk about our feelings. Suck it up. Don't cry. Why not? We all go through it. And it's not to say to sit here and play victim and go, oh, poor me. It's like, okay, cool. I'm experiencing this feeling right now. I'm feeling sad. Why are you feeling sad? Get to the root cause of it. Because that's how you solve it. That's how you take action on it. Not by sitting there and crying. There's a time and place for it. And that was the direction I wanted to take the podcast of. It's evolved over time. It did start off of, just talk about mental health and spreading awareness. But the more I came to understand it and understand, I guess, society and the world and how men are not expressing our feelings because we feel like we can't, it made me realize, yes, we need to spread awareness, but we also need to take action on it. And a big focus for 2024 is challenging the way that we think, feel, and act. Because if you break mental health down to a base term, what is it? It's how we think, it's how we feel, and it's how we act. What we're doing in society right now is obviously not working.
Sorry to take a pause, but I want to know why you feel like that. Why do you feel like it's not working? What shows you that sign?
Mental illness is on the rise. Suicide is on the rise. Depression is on the rise. Anxiety is on the rise. So obviously what we're doing isn't working. Now, I don't have the answers for it, But if I can challenge the way that we think, feel, and act through the conversations that I have, I hope to find some answers. I hope to, if you listen to my podcast, you're going through a dark time right now, and I do a podcast on meditation, right? That's challenging your thought pattern of, hey, I've never done meditation before because I thought it was weird. I thought it was woo-woo. But through listening to this conversation, to this podcast, it's changed my perception of it. I might give it a crack. Wow. This has made a huge shift in my life. I'm able to control my emotions now. I'm able to have awareness and understand myself. That's made a shift in your life, right? Just by challenging the way that we think, you feel, you've want to take an action on it. So that is the big focus for this year, is by having those conversations, I seek to challenge you and find the answers along the way.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. I go through a little bit of a segment at the moment on the podcast where I've been doing a bit of ancient Egypt research.
Yeah, okay.
Just something that I'm curious in. And what I notice a lot by looking at old ancient wars and things like that is I noticed that the world started to get better one conversation at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the alliances that countries are starting to build between each other. It was the peace treaties. It was these kind of things fixed the world, and people were able to start building monumental things because of these things. What I'm noticing in today's age is the world is getting better one segment at a time. You know, it only takes a short clip of someone being vulnerable, opening up, admitting that they have their flaws and their sufferings, but then actively trying to get better. It just takes a 30-second clip, and I feel like that changes a lot of people's lives.
There's also a degree of that I dislike too, where people fall into, I'm going to post a video of me crying and playing victim because it's going to get likes.
Yeah.
So we post that stuff for validation. It's not helping you. It's not helping the person that's watching that, because it creates this environment, this society where we go from one spectrum of not talking about our feelings to the other side of, oh, I'm going to cry about my feelings all the time because I'm going to get validation for it. You're just being a victim then. You need to meet in the middle, understand both sides, but take action on it and get to the root cause, because that's how you truly make change.
I agree. I think there's another flaw as well that people have. It's not just being vulnerable. That's not the only thing that's going to fix this. It's not just being like, I have depression, I have anxiety, I struggle to get out of bed sometimes. It's working on the steps in order to get out of that situation and combining those two together.
Yep.
And first admitting, and then second trying to improve. There's a massive trend, and I've seen it so much lately. It might just be my For You page and my algorithms, but it's the scene in which of things along the lines of a depression room. These terms are being used now. I'm seeing them all the time, of people being like, well, this is my depression room. This is what it's like living in a depression room. And they're just filming their disaster of a bedroom. Like, these things are putrid, disgusting. And that is feeding the beast. You know, is not, oh, I've been living in a depression room and today's the day I decide to get better. It's just people being like, oh, look at me in my depressed room. And these videos are getting millions of likes because so many people are identifying with that. And now they're being like, oh, I'm not alone in this feeling. I can sit in community inside of it. But instead, those videos should not exist at all. It's okay to be vulnerable, but you have to also talk about the fact that you don't want to be here. I'm either reaching out for help or I'm making decisions in order to get better myself. Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous world that society's kind of floating between, you know. So helpful, vulnerable conversation is a thing that I think the world needs. We can't just have one side of it, of people just admitting that there is problems, you know.
I definitely agree. For example, you got two wolves. You got the light and you got dark. What one survives? The one you feed.
Yeah, I like that.
If you're feeding the dark, if you're feeding depression, if you're feeding anxiety, you're feeding mental illness, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. To what point? To when you take your own life? You got to shift your mindset.
I agree. Now, you say you have this belief in a higher power or a being or something that's existential from us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why you have that belief?
It's a very interesting topic because I don't fully know, and it's something that I'm trying to, I guess, grasp an understanding of. But I believe that, yes, there is a higher power out there, because if there wasn't, I don't think we would have any of this. We wouldn't be here. Something had to create this, right?
Yeah. It's almost from a place of common sense. I'm guessing from your logic, it's like, well, it makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like a 1 + 1 = 2 scenario. Mm-hmm. You did, when you defined mental health and things before, I noticed that you did avoid the word spiritual. So a lot of people do say health, body, mind, and soul, you know, and I think that soul, a big part of that is a spiritual understanding and deciphering and trying to figure out why we're all here, what's the purpose in life, you know, just questioning the unknown. Not saying it's important, everyone needs to have it, but I do feel like the more deeper I try and dive into that, I do feel like my mental health improves. I do feel like my physical health starts to improve because my mental health starts to improve. I feel like that they are three components that do come into health in general. Not saying everyone needs it, and they're definitely not going to be the type of person to bowl bash people in doing so. I don't even know what I believe. I'm still figuring all that out. But I have my belief in a higher power personally because of my gratefulness to be alive. I find that just by being grateful, you're accepting you're believing that what you have is a gift. You can't be grateful for something if you don't necessarily think it's a gift. And in order for it to be a gift, it had to come from somewhere. It's kind of common sense that leads me down my path to believe there is a higher power. So it's interesting. And I'm not challenging you to try and figure it all out. That's definitely not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to open that conversation into having other people become a bit more curious. You know what I mean? It's curiosity above all.
Yeah, well, I speak a lot into mental fitness, which I mentioned before is mind, body, spirit. So I do speak about the spiritual thing, but yeah, breaking down mental health, I believe it's how we think, feel, and act. Because
I apologize, I got those two terminologies confused.
If you're talking about spirituality, it all starts when you got to think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it all starts up here anyway. Then you can go into that area of spirituality. So that was the kind of gist I was getting with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's cool. I think it's an interesting conversation. I'd love diving deep into podcasts about spirituality and stuff. And I'm curious, what kind of podcasts do you mostly listen to?
So I listen to at the moment, have you heard of Stephen Bartlett, The Diary of a CEO? Listen to him. He's probably one of the top podcasts in the world right now. I really love what he does, and I take a lot of inspiration for what he does, the way he communicates, the guests that he gets on, the content, everything like that. I listen to him mainly. I'll listen to Chris Williamson. He's another podcaster too. Andy Frisella from time to time. He's American. But to be honest, I don't really listen to many podcasts outside of that unless I'm doing research for a guest.
Yeah.
So I kind of just stick to what I know unless something comes up and I'm like, all right, I might give this a go.
Yeah, cool. I'll put a link in the description for all three of those because I'm personally going to check. I've never heard of any of them. That's awesome. That's interesting. Do you find yourself going down any of the social media kind of podcasts, like comedians or entertainers or anything like that?
Nah, it's never been my thing, eh? I'm always about what can I learn, how can I grow, and more so serious side of things. Serious, but still have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
But not fully like comedian, any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely my rabbit hole, dude. I get lost for hours a week while I'm doing tasks and chores. Just the Theo Vons, Andrew Schultz, the Chris D'Elia's, like, I love them all. But I reckon that's where most of my content consumption probably comes from, other than the Joe Rogans, the Patrick Bet-Davids. You ever been down that path? Yeah, I love him, bro. He's a champion, isn't he? He's an absolute champion. George Janko is a very aspiring comedian, turning into a bit more of a deep thinker.
I love the direction he's taken in his content, from going on being on Logan Paul's podcast to now this whole new thing. I think it's way better. Oh,
yeah, for sure, dude. It's inspiring. It's like now I'm a George Janko fan. I liked it. He made me laugh before, but now I believe in his purpose. Yeah. You know? It's awesome. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you ever think about that far in the future?
Yes and no. For me, I like to have like a vision, but I don't necessarily set so many goals in that direction because people can get so caught up in their goals that they miss the opportunities that go beneath their nose. For me, the one thing I have thought about is like growing my family, so having like 3-4 kids, massive house on the beach with a studio, the business, and just essentially just the freedom and the independence to wake up every day and do what I enjoy, and be that role model for my children, and being able to mix travel and business together. That's the direction I'm heading in.
That'd be a mad future, dude. Travel and business. Yeah, that's where it all comes down to. Imagine being able to claim a holiday tax-free, bro. That's the best.
That's it, man.
Being such a forward-thinking person like yourself, you know, you understand the long game. You understand the consistency, the repetition, the persistency, and wearing so many hats. I resonate with that So I wonder if you struggle like I do, in a sense that I don't often feel present. I'm always on the next mission. I'm always trying to accomplish something. There's always another task that needs to get done. I'm always looking ahead. I really struggle to come back to the moment. Do you ever feel that?
That's why I meditate.
Okay. Yeah, good answer.
Yeah, I'm always go, go, go. Next thing, okay, I've got to train now. I've got to edit this podcast. Got a client come through. Got to take my daughter to the park. I've got a date night with the missus. Like, there's always something to do. So having that 10, 20 minutes a day just to breathe, meditate, come back into the present, allows me to just, in a way, be more present when I'm on the go.
Yeah. Is it a daily thing that you try and do?
Yeah.
Okay, in just 10, 20 minutes, you feel like it's a good...
Yeah, just a guided meditation. Even my workouts are a meditation itself, because I can take a break from just thinking about, work or podcasting, and I can just focus on me.
Yeah.
So find what works for you and just do it.
Yeah, it's mad. I'm such a junkie for experience, dude. I struggle so much. When I'm training, I'm trying to learn a podcast at the same time. I'm trying to make notes, and I record down how many reps, how many sets, how many whatever. If I go for a run, let's make sure I run until the end of this. I learn as much about Jordan Peterson's next seminar as I
Tell
can.
you the best thing you can do? Run without music or anything.
Yeah, I've heard that lately popping up.
Build a relationship with your bitch voice.
Yeah, I think I heard that from your
Yeah, I posted
channel.
the other day.
Yeah.
You can go run 5Ks, no music, no podcast, anything, and you'll be surprised how many times you want to quit. But by building that relationship with your bitch voice, man, you're just going to keep pushing on. All right, 10 more steps, 10 more steps. All right, that goalpost, whatever, that tree. Just keep going until you reach the 5Ks or whatever you're going to do. Just a sense of achievement, confidence, resilience, you get through that, man, that's the best type of therapy for me.
Yeah.
And you think about stuff that comes up during your day too. You may have had a bad day and you go run 5Ks and you just have a conversation with yourself. Up here, we create this story of, oh, it's so bad. But once you actually have that conversation with yourself, you go, oh, wow, was it really that bad? And you get to the root cause of it, you solve it.
Yeah.
Done.
I love that, dude. I love that. I'll give it a go. I'll definitely will give it a go. And just start with a 5K with no music. But build a relationship with your bitch voice. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Do you find that spending time with your daughter helps bring you back to a present moment as well?
Oh, 100%. Just going to the park, being a kid yourself.
That's what's so fun about it, eh?
Definitely brings you back into the present moment and just allows you to focus on the small things in life that we take for granted. That's a big thing for me. And just coming back to that gratitude.
I find that it doesn't just bring me back to the present when you're hanging out with little ones as well. The more time you do and the more real moments there are, it brings me back to a past in which I'd completely forgotten. Do you ever experience situations in which you kind of like, oh my gosh, I kind of remember going through this as a kid myself? Like one example for me is the bedtime routine used to be a difficult thing. All right, we've worked on it, we fixed it, it's all sweet now, but it used to be just, and I'm just thinking to myself one night, like, I remember being a really young kid and my mum getting so frustrated at the fact that I just would not go to sleep, you know? Do you ever find that it brings you back past the present?
The big thing for me is not eating your vegetables.
Oh, bro.
Having to sit at the table.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what my parents went through with me. Because I'm going through it now. I'm like, oh my God. Am I really going to sit here with this child all night until she eats her finger vegetables?
Yeah, and you have to just stick it out, eh? You can't budge. You have to just ride it out.
Yeah, so it's, as I said, parenthood's an interesting journey.
It's so fun, eh? It's really, I'm so appreciative for my partner for just having me enter this space, which I was not a part of before, you know? And as I said to you before, I can't wait to start the chapter you've gone down as well with children. All right, y'all, it's the time of the episode where I'll be talking about Egypt through this segment. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to sit down and talk about it with Nick, but it doesn't mean that this episode won't contain the Egypt segment. And as I mentioned last week when I covered the Battle of Kadesh, when I sat down with Shreyaz and we discussed the first ever recorded war that got taken place in human history, which was in ancient Egyptian time, I did mention that this week I'll be talking about another great discovery, which some consider to be the greatest monument ever built, and that is the Great Sphinx of Giza. Now, as I said, if you haven't gone back and checked out last week's episode on the Battle of Kadesh, I'm telling you, it was a good, interesting segment. It's been one of my favorite segments so far. So there's a link in the description down below, as always. So please click and watch that episode. Now, the Great Sphinx of Giza. So, funny that I haven't even talked about it yet. I've kind of, to be honest, forgot to even talk about it because it was so early in my research, but I'll go over a little bit about what it is. So the Sphinx is built of limestone and is a statue with a human head sitting on top of a body of a laying down cat or a reclining cat. And the particular body of cat in which it is it's a lion. So it's a lion's body with a human's head. Now, from paw to tail, it's 73 meters long, this sculpture, with a width of 20 meters tall from the top of its head. A height of 20 meters tall from the top of its head down to the base. It's hard to imagine how long that actually is. It is for me anyway. I can't really think about meters in measurement and distance and length anyway. So for reference, it's almost the height as if you got two buses length and stood them both up height. That's how tall it is. And it's a distance of about 6 to 7 buses in length. So if you can imagine now, for me it's a little bit easier anyway, so I won't bother going into description and all that shit. So now the head of the lion is supposedly a representation of the pharaoh, I believe I'm saying it right, Khafre, who knows how to fucking say his pharaoh's name. I only know these words by reading it, so don't judge me if I've said it wrong. But as I said, it's believed that Pharaoh Khafre is who the depiction is of, not just through comparing it to what other depictions and sculptures and paintings of what Pharaoh Khafre looked like, but also the age in which the current narrative shows and how old the Sphinx is. They believe that it was him who built it, which is why it has his face on top of it. His reign was from 2558 BC to 2532 BC. So that was 4,500 years ago, around a similar time frame to what they believe was the building of the Great Pyramid of Giza. They believe the Sphinx was built around the same time, around 4,500 years ago. Many people, including myself, do believe, though, that the Sphinx is much older than that. Research shows that its head has been resculptured over time, originally showing a depiction of either someone else, a pharaoh at the time, or even a god who they worshipped at the time. I've said it before, and I'm not going to go down any other paths as early this year into this Egypt kind of segment because I'm going to just stick to the current education system's narrative and what they're teaching at the moment. But I will, don't get me wrong, go down other roads because I do believe in what some other Egyptologists, historians, discoverers, geologists, I am believing on another side of the fence, not just the current popular narrative. But for what we know so far today, it's 4,500 years old. A lot of people aren't aware about this, but the Great Sphinx itself actually contains tunnels and chambers all over it. Many have been discovered over time and for some reason are continued to be closed or off or even structured shut every few decades, ever since the earliest recorded discoveries. Sometimes people do try and drill deep into them and to break open these closed over entrances in which people have been blocking off for people to get into, but when they do, they end up structurally destroying the Sphinx itself. They either damage the interior, the outside of it starts to chip away. You have to remember it's very, very old. Even if it is only 4,500 years old, modern day technology through drills and anchor points, they're not really going to be able to dig into it without keeping the entire thing completely completely intact. So maybe with some futuristic modern day technology, they might be able to surround it while they try and get inside of it. But, you know, it's pretty interesting the fact that there is tunnels and chambers inside of it. And funnily enough, in 1565, Johann Helffrich, who was a German Orient traveller, wrote down a fact that one of his priests went into the Sphinx, and what the priest said afterwards shocked everyone around him. The priest, who was a believer in Christ, when he went into the head of the Sphinx, just for, you know, exploration really, there was no other real reason for it, he started to hear sounds and voices. And what he started to learn after these voices were becoming a bit more clearer was that he believed the Sphinx was actually talking to him. Now, it's funny because I've mentioned it before, you believe and you start to find fact in what you believe. So people who are Oriental, Christian-based, who have a belief in any form of religion, they will always find proof to back up what is their already belief system. But this priest believed that the Sphinx had a higher power and the Sphinx was talking to him and giving him messages. There is no evidence in what he believes the Sphinx was saying to him, but words like spiritual and energetic and consciousness, they've been used throughout history many times by many different discoverers, explorers, spread out across all over the planet. A lot of people who have gone and spent time, not just around it, but especially those who have gone inside it, believe it's a very powerful place to be. I'm not going to go down exactly what people believe this spirituality could be, because as I said, that's exciting stuff for future episodes. I'm just sticking to the current narratives. So I feel like that's a pretty good explanation of what the Sphinx is, what the Sphinx was, how old the Sphinx is, in reference, how big it is now, and I hope that's a little bit of an insight for some of the exciting news that might come later as I start to go down this energetic, spiritual kind of mythology when it comes to ancient Egypt. And it kind of gives a little bit of a trailer for next week too, because next week I'm going down a new interesting segment and I'll be going down the mythology in ancient Egypt. I believe we've had quite a few great discoveries so far. I've mentioned the Khufu ship, I've mentioned the Great Pyramid of Giza, I've mentioned the Great Obelisk, I've mentioned, as of now, the Sphinx. I've talked about the mummification processes, some of the great pharaohs that have come before, like King Tutankhamun. You've had Ramses II and even Seti I. There's been some great mentions so far in this Egypt segment, but I think that it's time to start going down this mythology. So as of next week, I start the explanation to what they used to believe, who the gods were, even how the Egyptians used to believe the life itself was even created, how the earth was created. All this stuff will be mentioned next week, so please don't miss out on next week, and let's get back to this episode with Nick. I have one final question that I'd like to ask you before we wrap it all up. But before I do, I just have to say thank you very much for coming over and doing this episode, bro.
I appreciate you, man. It's been an awesome conversation. I'm super grateful for you.
Mad. I'd like to do it again in the future. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is the last time we're going to do it. But until then, the last question I have to ask is, it's more of a piece of advice. And I believe that you could hear something a million times and it could not stick with someone. But every now and then, someone could just say words in order for it to actually stick with you. So there's no pressure in answer of this question, but I just think that by constantly asking it, it might eventually get to somewhere. If someone came to you for a piece of advice because they felt depressed, mostly because they were lost, what would you say to that person?
So many pieces of advice I could give. But I think a big thing that we spoke about before was focusing on the things that you can control. Getting to the root cause of why are you feeling depressed? Did you break up with your partner? Crap upbringing, something like that. But understanding, don't use that as an excuse. Embrace it. How can you use that to propel you forward? Your purpose, your passion comes from your pain points, as I mentioned earlier. If you can focus on those things, focus on what you can control, focus on your health and fitness, man, things will take care of themselves. Seek the help that you need. If you need to go speak to someone, go speak to someone. If you don't have someone physical, there's social media. You can talk to anyone at any time. Never feel like you're alone, but also understand that you're the one that has to take action on it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. You can get all the help and support you need, but you're the one that has to take the action. You've got to dig yourself out of that hole. So a big thing for me is owning your shit, taking accountability. And man, the world's your oyster. You just understand that this is a season that you're going through right now. It's not going to last forever. But if you get through it, there's going to be a better season ahead of you.
Great answer, dude. I couldn't have answered it better myself. It was said beautifully. It was a way to wrap up a beautiful episode, dude. I really admire everything you've done with your podcast journey, dude. I use you as my inspiration, all right? Stumbling upon your channel was such an awesome thing in my own life. So I thank you personally for your consistency, because it's been a gift for me.
Thank you, man. Much love.
Yeah, again, thank you for the episode. I'm looking forward to it again in the future. For everyone listening, thank you very much for making it to the end of the episode. Stay tuned for next week. Another episode to come. That's all right.
Shawty catch a vibe, yeah, I had to put her on. Bought her 2 seater, yeah, we heading for the sun. Shawty got my high, I ain't tripping for the funds. Yeah, I won't start, I ain't tripping, I'm a stunt.